The secret ingredient of the NZ Central Muscle Cars and why it's become such a fantastic and very popular series around the country.
I think it's just a good group of guys, and they just want to go out and have fun in the cars, and I think they're passionate about the cars they drive. I mean, some of them like the Blue Oval, some of them like the Chef Badgers and the Holdens. They're all sort of mixing it up, and they've got their own passions and their own cars that they want to race. And they've probably watched them back in the day when they had the old Big Bangers and Thunder Saloons. And some of them have watched these cars, like number 41, Bruce Kett. His car's a replica of the old Coppins car, Camaro, that used to race years ago. It's sponsored by CMP Construction. And, he's obviously, it's got a livery that's from yesteryear sort of thing.
So the format, 10 laps, standing start.
Fastest off the front.
This is all based on their qualifying time, where Foggy did a 1:41.3, Perkins a 1:42.1, Michael Wallace a 1:43.4, Andy Knight a 1:43.7, 77, that's Ross Graham. He did a 1:50.1. So getting set now. Field almost lined and ready. Second race of the weekend, BP Ultimate Motorsport Championship, 10 laps, NZ Central Muscle Cars, home of the Big Bangers. Foggy on front, the series leader, defending champion on P2, Dean Perkins. Had some bad luck, a blown motor in the last round as the rest of the field lines up. And we get set to go racing after the lunch break. Hot stuff here at Highlands Motorsport Park. What a great sight. NZ Central Muscle Cars in the heat haze. Red lights are on. Revs are up. Waiting to go racing. Lights are out. And we're away. Perkins, Fogg. Look at the Oldsmobile straight away, number 3, just gunning it round the outside.
Andy Knight got probably the best start there, I think.
Down through the bus stop into the Southern Loop for the first time. Field charging through. Wow, what a start too by Knight. Clark Hopkins up too. Now it's Fogg though. He's made a good clean start and dominating. Number 50, Andy Knight there. Gee, he got some wheels down in that Oldsmobile, didn't he?
Definitely, yeah. Oh, Andy's from down Christchurch way as well, so he's probably done a few more laps than some of the others around this track.
Certainly knows this track and knows that car. That, as we said, has got plenty of potential. It's always had lots of pace, had a few issues with it, but once he gets it up and cranked up, he can really motor. Perkins down the inside. We'll see how they go. Number 151. Michael Wallace.
That's a very similar car to Andy Knight's car. It was
Chevy Monza.
Yeah, built in the same factory up in Auckland by Jacko, who builds a lot of the cars and works on a lot of the cars actually.
Down the bridge for the first time. Coming around what they term as Loch Ness, that's the lake. Perkins having a look as they come down this little wee dip. Difficult part of the track here into reverse Indy, shades of the Gold Coast. But they're back around turn 14, which is the danger corner. Entrance onto the main straight. If you nail it, it's good. If you go a bit wide, you could end up on the concrete wall. Foggy out in front, gets the first lap done, followed by Andy Knight, Dean Perkins, Wallace, Tristan Tecchi, Brendan Mason, Dean Hansen, Steve Ross. Into the bus stop for the second time, and it's all on here.
Yep. Brendan Mason's actually got Grant Dalton's
car. Local man who lives here. That's not a good look.
It's not a good sign. You were talking about the wall before, and that's what happens.
I think that's number 4 for the wall, 4-0. I think it's our 4th, or was it our 3rd car?
Yeah.
Well, in fact, there might have been 2 Castrol Toyota ones yesterday. We had a tangle with a couple of the Oscars, and now we've got one here in the Central Muscle Cars, so it makes it 5-0.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens if the safety car comes out. So the safety car was out, and I think we've got the flashing lights, and the safety car will be joining the track very, very soon. Take a look at the BP Ultimate Motorsport Championship replay, and once again, it's a lone raider into the concrete wall all by themselves. And just getting too wide, missing the apex, and bang. Classic example. And he would have known that.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
Yeah.
Because he's got an apartment here, you're saying.
Yeah. He's actually raced quite a few cars around here himself. You know, he's got other cars that he races as well. So, it's very disappointing to see that happen to a car like that, though.
So real drama once again here. That concrete wall. Car number 5 now. It's claimed 5 cars. It's going to be one of the spots to watch, I tell you, throughout the weekend. And all the fans on the grass bank will get a great view because they've got the rear view right at it. So that's a real unfortunate sight there. Once again, it's the medical crews, our recovery crews, the volunteers who are going to be hot stuff. Look at the steam coming out of the rear of their car, Ian. So he's got a bit of a rebuild going on too, hasn't he?
Yeah.
That's a real shame for him.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things about motorsport. We always say expect the unexpected, but you wouldn't expect that from a guy who knows the local track conditions.
Yeah, I mean, there could have been something on the track as well that he may have hit, but I just hope he's all right, you know, that's the main thing. Cars can be rebuilt, bodies can't.
Yeah, he's hopefully he looks fine. All the impacts being taken by the side of the car, but being a left-hand drive car, he is literally parked up against the concrete wall, isn't he?
Yeah, it's like with the roll cages in them and that sort of thing, it's like a bit of a jungle gym in there, so to get out the passenger's door's a bit hard as well.
How much work goes into building these cars to make them safe, especially these old, you know, you take a 1970 Ford Mustang or you take a 69 Camaro or a 68 Camaro and you want to go motor racing, but to have that safety package, there's a lot of work that goes on, isn't there?
Yeah. Well, I work with a guy, Shannon Coker, who's actually building a car at the moment, and it's been on the build for 12 months sort of thing, and he's hoping to get it done for April for supercars, but we'll see what happens there. He actually imported a NASCAR from overseas, an ex-Joey Logano car, and he's taken all the motor and the gearbox, diff out of that, and put it into an HQ Holden.
How many of these guys are working on these cars all the time? All the field, just about, or what?
Well, no, not all of them. I mean, in the off-season, like we run sort of from October through to April, and then in the off-season, you got 6 months, and they strip the cars down and put them all back together, and every second year they rebuild the engines, that sort of thing, gearboxes and diffs they can do as they go along. They've got spares and that they carry with them, so sometimes you'll be down in the pits and they'll be whipping a gearbox out, throwing another one in, or chucking a diff in, or changing a ratio or something like that.
And most of these cars, a lot of the motors are sourced out of America, ex-NASCAR motors?
The ex-NASCAR ones are sourced out of America, and there are places in New Zealand that do build them, like Tony Marsh builds a few, and there's some other places as well, but they're just an engine really, but they're pretty highly strung.
Yeah, they're more than just an engine for these guys. It's a passion, isn't it?
Yeah. It's all about the speed and the power.
It's a deep-rooted love of that particular brand or that particular model. But at the moment, you've got to say Angus Fogg with that beautiful J.A. Russell Ford Mustang. He has really found the sweet spot, isn't it? He's made friends with that car. It's a great saying in motorsport. I say it to all the drivers when you get to the track. Have you made friends with the car? I.e., is the setup right? Is the driver right? Have you, dialed into the track yet? You got your braking, the gear changes, all those different points that make up that puzzle of a really good fast lap, because then you've got to do it lap after lap after lap.
Yeah, well, like Angus can build the car himself and that sort of thing, but it's also about the presentation. I mean, you look at the cars and they're well presented every time they come to the track. Moselles do a lot of work on a lot of the cars, panel shop up in Auckland. It's their name on the car sort of thing as well, as far as the paint shops. They do a really, really good job. And, I mean, you can catch up with any of the action on Facebook, on Moselles' page, if you want to get some more information about what we're doing, where we're going, and that sort of stuff.
Some fantastic hot rods on display in Cromwell today. Some fantastic hot rods on display with George Thorogood and Billy Idle just down the road at Gippsland Valley with the big rock and roll concert today. But at the moment, it's all rock and roll with these fantastic. It's a mobile display of some of the great cars out of America, isn't it? The great muscle cars, the Mustangs, the Camaros. This is a classic car display every time you go for a race.
Yeah, and if you look at the Mustangs and the Camaros, like out of America, you can still buy body panels and everything for them, so it's quite easy to repair them. Whereas the Falcons and the Commodores, if you damage one of those, you've just about got to go and buy another car, and those sort of cars are becoming very, very expensive to buy now because everyone wants one. You know, they might have had the car when they were younger, and now they're a little older, they want to collect it, do it up, and put it back on the road and show it off, sort of thing.
So where do most of the drivers in the NZ Central Muscle Cars source their parts and that supply of parts? Because, you know, poor old Steve Scholes here, he's going to have to do a bit of a rebuild on that one.
Yeah, well,
unless he's a good panel beater.
Yeah, well, Scholesy, it'll probably be, we're racing next weekend in Levels, it'll probably be back up and running by then. You can get the parts, I mean, for a Camaro, but the Pine Pack Falcon that hit the wall down in Manfield, a mate of mine actually gave a car to them so they could stitch a new front onto the car, you know, so otherwise he'd have to go and buy something, pay 5-10 grand for the car, and then cut it up to fix his race car.
So it's fair to say that some of the cars on display and the love from the driver and the passion for that particular brand, whether it be the Blue Oval of Ford or GM or whatever, can now be determined more about the availability of motors and also parts before you make your decision to actually go, and yes, I'll get that 1970 sort of car I've always wanted, put it on the bucket, let's go motor racing, but I want a regular supply to be able to keep racing.
Yeah, I mean, some of them, they'll see a car and it's cheap, so they'll buy it. You know, like in someone's backyard, they might have something sitting on the back lawn. Oh, I need some parts off that, and I'll buy the whole car.
Spend a year watching Turbo Discovery on Sky and rebuild the car because they do some great jobs. Yep. Rip the guts out, put it back in, and then, run out of parts.
Yeah, definitely.
The last thing you'd want to do when you go motor racing.
Yeah, well, obviously, it's not good when they do have an accident or come together or anything like that.
That super safety car still out on the circuit as they try and remove the car along the main track. Once again, a great performance by the recovery crews. They're going to be busy here today at Highlands Motorsport Park. And of course all of our volunteers and marshals as well. Great scene, isn't it? Great way to start summer.
Yeah.
Right here in the beautiful Highlands. There's such a great look. And a fantastic world-class facility put together by Tony Quinn and the team. If you ever get a chance to check out this museum up here, you'll love that. And it's a wonderful tourist destination too, so close to Queenstown. Of course, you've got the go-karts happening all the time. This was basically a lot of wasteland. A lot of wasteland, and they decided to, you know, create the motorsport park out here to turn something that wasn't being used into something that's used 365 days of the year. So, and becoming a mecca for motorsport in the South Island, which is fantastic.
Yeah, there was a group of guys in Cromwell that got together and wanted to build a racetrack, and then you know, obviously it costs a lot of money to do it, and then Tony Quinn's come in and taken over and turned it into what it is today. It's a beautiful beautiful place to be.
Right amongst the hills here, that's why it's called Highlands Motorsport Park. Good association with Hampton Downs, just between Auckland and Waikato too, which is also owned by Tony Quinn. So we take a look. 28 degrees is the forecast today, a westerly around about 7 knots. So I think a lot of people will be swimming in the nearby Lake Dunstan and taking advantage of going to the beach with the rock and roll concert, the car show. So right in the heat and the hot part of summer, the height of summer, it's all on today at Highlands Motorsport Park, but unfortunately not for number 33. Steve Scholes from Dunedin, who's got the apartment here, and the sad side is they tow his beautiful 69 Chevy Camaro out of harm's way. It was from downforce to a lot of good driver training. A lot of these drivers would have taken tips and improved their ability to go motor racing. 167 is Steve Neuer out of Auckland in that 67 Ford Mustang. So the lights are out, and we've had 4 laps under the safety, well, 1 lap under racing, 3 laps under the safety car. The lights are out. It's a 10-lapper, so we'll have 6 to go. Impressive looking beast.
It is, yeah.
And then Dean Perkins right behind him, just straight red.
Yeah.
Roaring red. And then number 50, Andy Knight. at 77 Oldsmobile Starfire. Lights are out, set to go racing. Angus Fogg can control it as we get the green flag. Perkins right up behind the bumper. Three great drivers, lots of V8 racing experience, TRS experience, Mini experience, you name it. Three of the top drivers in New Zealand motorsport and some classic machinery around the big southern loop, which is a bit like a bowl. Full noise up the mile, along Main Straight into the S's before they duck down under the bridge. This is where it tightens up. You can't go wide around there. Down through the carousel. Plenty of power down here into turn 5, and then it'll swing around into turn 6, which is what they term a sting. That's off camera, and as you heard Nick Cassidy telling Jonathan Green, this is where you've got to put the foot to the floor, and it's flat out round here. Down through the alien woods, because there's an alien up in the woods as you go flying past this corner turn 8, down into turn 9, the hairpin. And it's plenty of opportunities here to go wide or take it tight around this tight elbow. Try and make a pass. Then it's back up the long straight into the little wee chicane, which is like a kink into the flying overbridge, almost onto the grass as Perkins comes off the bridge down Loch Ness around the lakeside part of the track.
Tristan Teki making a move.
This another little wee dip here, shades of Phillip Island around what they term as reverse Indy. Turn 13 and then turn 14, which is the one that's caught them out so far. And that'll complete another lap of Highlands Motorsport Park as 135 makes a move. Gets up the inside, clean and tidy around there as well. Brendan Mason from Invercargill in the 70 Camaro on that very colourful old school livery.
That's an ex-sub.
Going to see what's happened. If something's happened to Knight in the Oldsmobile. Wallace, Teki, Mason, Hanson, Andy Knight, number 50, dropping back down through the field.
Must be something playing up in the car or something like that, or...
So 4 laps to go, and that's the other bit of a twist in the tail, number 81.
That's Dean Hanson. He's coming second in the championship at the moment.
That's the taxi, the 72 HQ Holden. Out of Tauranga. Nicely prepared. And moving up the field at the moment. There's Michael Wallace. 151. Beautifully prepared car too, that Chevrolet Monza. But it's Andy Knight. He just seems to have just gone from what, third and challenging, and second back down the field. He was up to second at one stage, made a great start.
Brendan Mason was just starting to make a move on Tristan Teki. The car of Brendan Mason's actually was run by Grant Dalton in the last few years.
So I was just wondering about that. Is he Dalton offloaded that and sold that car so we can focus on Team New Zealand?
Well, Team New Zealand, but also he does a lot of motorcycle racing as well, so he might be doing a bit more of that. And I don't know, there's talk of him building another car.
Dean Perkins still trying to put the pressure on Angus Fogg. Yes, it's great and time certain, so that race has been shortened. And Angus Fogg will get the win because of those long delays trying to remove Steve Scholes off the track. Race is time certain, so it's Foggy that's going to hold on and get the win, followed by Dean Perkins and Michael Wallace rounding out the top 3. That's it. So is that what, 4 in a row now for Angus Fogg, and extends his lead in the NZ Central Muscle Cars in round 4?
Yeah, but it only takes like one DNF and someone else could be back in the game again, you know.
So just completing the highlights and the race result, 11 Angus Fogg gets the win, followed by 75 Dean Perkins coming home in second. Michael Wallace rounding out the top 3 in the